I slid down the wall, my back scraping against the paint, until I was sitting on the hardwood floor with my knees pulled to my chest. My hands were trembling so badly I had to clench them into fists just to keep from dropping the phone again. No one knew about that night. Not my aunt, not my best friend, not the therapist I saw twice after my mom died and then never called back. I had buried that memory like a shard of glass, deep enough that it couldn't cut me if I didn't touch it. But my mother. She had held my face in her hands. She had wiped my tears with her thumbs. She had whispered those exact words into my hair. No one else could have known. My breath came out in ragged, uneven gasps. "You're not her," I whispered, but the words didn't sound convincing even to me. "You can't be." The voice on the other side of the door softened. "Sweetheart, let me see you. Please." The air in the hallway shifted. Just slightly, just enough that the tiny hairs on my arms stood up. It wasn't colder. If anything, it felt warmer, like someone had lit a candle too close to my skin. My phone buzzed in my hand, the sudden vibration making me flinch so hard I nearly threw it. A text from Aunt Delia. "Police on the way. Stay put." For a moment, I held on to those words like they were a lifeline. But then, another knock. Not the 3 slow ones. Just one. Careful. Almost apologetic. "Sadie." Her voice cracked like she'd been crying. My real mom hardly ever cried. When she did, she tried to hide it. This voice, this thing, sounded the same way she used to sound when she tried not to let me hear her breaking. "Open the door, baby. I don't have much time." Something inside me twisted. A pull so strong it felt physical, like someone had hooked a string through my ribs and tugged gently. My body leaned forward before I could stop it. I pressed my palm to the wooden door. On the other side, something pressed back. Not a shove. Not a grab. Just the lightest touch, like a mother placing her hand over her child's. My throat tightened. "Mom," I whispered, because in that moment, God help me, I wanted it to be her. I wanted it more than I wanted to breathe. The thing on the other side of the door let out a shaky breath. "That's my girl." My vision blurred. Tears spilled onto my knees. Everything was spinning, logic, grief, fear, memory, tangled so tightly I couldn't pull them apart. But then, sound split through the moment. Sirens. Far at first. Then closer. Then close. Blue and red lights flickered across the frosted window beside the door. The hand against mine. Vanished. Not pulled away. Not lifted. It was just gone, like it had never been there at all. I scrambled back from the door just as 2 police officers sprinted up the porch steps, flashlights cutting through the darkness. One of them pounded on the door. "Columbus PD. Ma'am, are you inside?" I forced myself up, legs weak, and unlatched the deadbolt with shaking fingers. When the officers stepped in, cold night air rushed past them like the house was finally able to breathe again. "There was someone here," I choked out. "She was standing right there, she looked like." But when I turned to point at the porch, there was no one. Just empty boards, an empty yard, an empty street. The officers searched the property. The yard, the driveway, the bushes, the neighbor's side gate. They found footprints on the porch, bare feet small like a woman's, but they stopped at the last step. As if whoever had been there hadn't walked away. As if she'd simply vanished. Aunt Delia arrived minutes later, wrapping me in her coat, whispering that everything was okay, even though her voice shook. But everything wasn't okay. Because when the officers left, when my aunt locked every door and checked every window, when the house finally went quiet again, my phone buzzed one last time. Voicemail. From Mom. Hands numb, I press play. At first, there was only faint static. Soft, like someone brushing against the microphone. A whisper. So quiet it was almost swallowed by the silence. "To the spoon and back." And then, buried beneath it, layered so faintly it was almost inaudible. Something else. Second voice. Not my mother's. Deeper. Hungry. Blows. "Let me in." My legs gave out. I slid down the wall until I was sitting on the floor, knees pulled tight to my chest as the weight of her words crushed something inside me. I hadn't told anyone about that night. Not Aunt Delia, not my best friend from nursing school, not even my therapist during the months after Mom died. It was a moment buried so deeply in my memory that sometimes even I questioned whether it had really happened at all. But she remembered. She remembered every word. A cold tremor ran through me. Not fear this time, but something worse. Recognition. Familiarity. A feeling that this impossible thing outside my door wasn't a stranger pretending to be my mother. It was something else. Something that sounded like her. Something that knew her. Something that wanted me to believe. Sadie. Her voice drifted through the door again, soft, pleading. Sweetheart, open the door. I'm so cold. I don't have much time. A harsh scraping noise cut through the hallway, and for a second I thought it was coming from the porch. But then I realized it was coming from me. My nails dragging across the hardwood floor as I tried to brace myself. I forced myself to look toward the peephole again. I didn't want to. Every cell in my body screamed at me not to. But something, curiosity, grief, desperation, pulled me forward. I rose slowly, my legs shaking so violently I had to steady myself against the wall. I leaned in, pressing my eye to the peephole. She was still there. But something was wrong. Her posture had changed. Her head was tilted too far to the left, like her neck couldn't quite hold it up anymore. And her smile, God. Her smile was stretched just a little too wide, like someone had taught her how to do it but didn't understand how human faces actually worked. Let me in, baby. The voice was still my mother's. But the smile wasn't. I stumbled back again, this time catching myself on the hallway table. A picture frame rattled to the floor, the glass shattering loud enough to echo through the house. Outside, the thing wearing my mother's face stopped smiling. Open. Door. The voice cracked on the last word like a recording glitching, skipping. My phone buzzed violently in my hand, and I almost dropped it. I looked down and saw Aunt Delia calling. I answered so fast the call almost didn't connect. Auntie, please hurry, she's still here, she knows things she shouldn't know. Sadie, Delia said, breathless. Listen to me. Called the police. They're on their way. Whatever you do, do not speak to her again. Too late. Why? I whispered. On the other end, I heard the sound of a car door slamming. Delia was on her way. Because, she said, voice trembling, your mother wasn't the only one who died that week. My blood froze. What are you talking about? Delia inhaled shakily, as if gathering strength. There's something your mother never told you. Something she made me promise to keep secret unless this ever happened. Thud hit the door. Not a knock. A thud like someone pressing their full weight against it. Sadie. The voice outside the door had lowered, distorted, like two people speaking at once. Let me in. Please. It hurts. I covered my mouth to stop myself from screaming. Delia spoke again, her voice breaking. There was a woman, your mother's cousin. Her name was Celeste. She died before you were born, but she didn't go quietly. She tried to come back. Your mother thought the family curse ended with her. The word hit me like a blow. She told me if anything strange ever happened, if anyone ever came to you looking like her. The thing outside my door slammed its hand flat against the wood. Hard. The entire frame shook. Let me in. I cried out, dropping the phone. It clattered to the floor, landing face up. I could still hear Delia shouting my name through the speaker, but I couldn't focus on her. Footsteps, heavy, uneven, started pacing across the porch, back and forth, like something deciding whether to break the door down or wait until I made a mistake. I backed down the hallway on my hands and heels like a crab, scrambling away from the door but never taking my eyes off it. Pacing stopped. Dead quiet. A low whisper pressed against the other side of the wood, so soft I barely heard it. To the spoon and back. Let me come home. My chest tightened until I thought my ribs would snap. That wasn't Celeste's voice. That was my mother's last sentence. Word for word. Tone for tone. Perfect. Something slid down the door. Like fingernails. Like someone dragging their hand down the wood. I squeezed my eyes shut. But when I opened them again, the front door handle was turning. Slowly. Smoothly. Like the lock didn't matter. Like whatever was outside wasn't trying to get in anymore. It knew it could. And then, the lock clicked.